Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're just getting our finishing touches set up real quick. Been really busy today. Trying to go and work on getting the COVID video done. It is officially done. I do plan on uploading that. Hopefully tonight it'll happen. Could be tomorrow morning when you guys actually get to see it. I do need to adjust a few different links as well. If you guys are on Discord, Twitter, if you guys are following me on any of the social media, things like this, I do need to adjust some of my some of the links because BitChute and what's it called? Rumble for whatchamacallit, for the mysterious monoliths and loud booms video is up as well. I just haven't had a chance to actually adjust, so we're going to get to that in just a second. Here we go. All right. But we are going to be looking at a very mysterious case here. We're going to be looking at the Crowley family homicides. I say homicides because, yes, there was initially 2 homicides they were labeling, and the third would be a suicide. I've had to go and do quite a bit of research on this case because there's a lot here that does not add up, and you guys will see that in a second. But also, there's going to be some information I'm going to be using about, or from their documentary that came out. It's not their documentary, but it's a documentary about their, about the case, and basically looking at the trailer and all this kind of stuff. So I can't show off the trailer, but once again, if you guys are on Discord, I do have the links and all that for everything we're going to be looking at as well tonight, but the trailer as well. So just to kind of give you guys a quick little rundown of this case, I had to jot down some notes. I haven't had a chance to actually update the notes on the computer yet. But so we're basically looking at a filmmaker who apparently, he's a former military soldier. So I think he was Army infantry, I believe. I have to take a look again, but who got involved with looking at some of these conspiracies kind of going on, decided to make a movie called Gray State, but he couldn't get to the movie point until he had the actual huge money sum. But basically, long story short, this trailer that he released, the concept trailer, it outlines basically, let me get the exact description real quick. Where was it? I can explain it my own way, but it's just going to be a little bit longer. Okay. So basically what it is essentially, think if the New World Order, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, deep state, basically they eventually just took over, right? So they had FEMA roll out and police and military and just basically just taking people out left and right. And if there was anybody that was basically quote unquote dissenting against what their beliefs are, and it's like a huge surveillance state, it's a police state, it's a authoritarian regime, quite the dystopia. But basically, you've got a main character in it who was basically standing up against them when it first started. Him and his militia basically stood up against it. And it didn't really tell you if it was all of them except for him or if it was just most of them. Some of them, we don't know. But it was a bunch of them end up getting killed when they were standing up against him. And then he ends up basically surviving it, comes back throughout after they're already marking people with these markings, which you basically need to use for everything. So, yeah, basically it's a huge dystopia, and they have some connections to the Freemasons and things like this, public executions. But he even mentions in the documentary, he talks about the occult being involved as well in the movie as well. So once again, looking into this kind of stuff, this is the kind of thing you're going to end up finding. But there are some details about this case that are just peculiar. So I'll bring up Discord, and that way I can show you guys directly kind of what we're working with here. No, not what I want to do. No. There we go. All right, so we'll just bring this up real quick so I can get you guys right in so we can get into my details about it that I labeled out. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so trailer, got it right here. If you guys do want to watch it, I would highly suggest it. If you guys would like to go and join in on the Discord, once again, it's up on everywhere, all my social media, so highly suggest getting into it. But we're going to be looking at 3 different things looking at here. We're going to be looking at a PDF, which is basically, it's just the police report that the Apple Valley, Minnesota police actually, they went and they jotted down their quote-unquote information. There's some stuff about it that doesn't add up at all. So we'll be looking at that as well. Then we're going to be going over this blog, which has been covering in the murder or the homicide, or the whole case, for a while now, and looking at everything else, including the family as a whole. Not to mention his friends and all that. So we're going to be primarily using the Ugly Truth blog. We're going to be using like maps and things like this to also go and cover specific area. There's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do at this point. Basically, the goal here is, I can already tell this is a case that there's way too many issues. I should put it that way, at least. There's way too many issues, and this guy, could he have possibly snapped and done this? It's, in my opinion, it's highly unlikely. I think there is a chance, but it's very, very, I believe it's a slim chance. I do believe that he was, this family was murdered. And I do believe it is partially because of what he was looking into and the exposure that it would have caused against those people, not to mention some of the other people that don't have any direct connection to it. They were kind of nutty. And they didn't like what the movie was kind of showing off, well, what they thought it was showing off. And then we're also going to look at the possibility of hate crime. Basically just being targeted because of, could have been because, we don't know. Is it because he's military or former military? Was it because he was doing this and it was just like an angry fan? Was this because his, because of his wife's, his wife's origin? Well, when I say origin, I mean like her previous religion. Was it because of her ethnicity? We don't know directly what this was. If you go off directly what the police are saying, then this is essentially just a double homicide and a suicide. So just to kind of give you guys the quick little rundown real quick on what exactly we're looking at when it comes to Crowley. Crowley was actually a family man. Now, was he like the greatest person ever? I would argue pretty much nobody is ever. Nobody's ever going to hit that, which once again, I know is kind of bringing up some like, well, is anybody be perfect? No, nobody can. So I get that. But no, this guy, he was unemployed. Kind of for most of the time this was that he was putting this movie together, but he was in film school. He had a daughter and all this. And, basically his whole role in this was to kind of take care of his kid and then get the movie going. And he had an incredibly supportive wife, but she was the main breadwinner, I think is the term for it. It's basically the person who bringing in all the money, pretty much. He did have a side business that basically was teaching actors on how to actually use weapons. So think like kind of Keanu Reeves-esque kind of thing. How he learned how to fight and things like this. That's what this guy would have done. So I would not think some kind of Joe Schmo off the street is going to get a jump on very easily. Not to mention kind of where his mental state was. He was kind of hyper vigilant a lot of the time. Everybody that even like in the documentary, they mention it. If you read anything about this guy, you watch anything about this guy, hyper vigilant. So was somebody going to be able to get the jump on this guy very easily? No, absolutely not. So I would think this would have to be somebody that's actually like, they know what they're doing. And we'll get into a list of suspects here in a bit, but giving you guys that little rundown, now we need to kind of go back to kind of how everything kind of began, how he got involved with Gray State and all this. So I'm not going to get into his full backstory because, once again, does that really pertain to this case? Well, as of right now, I can definitively say, from everything I've found, chances are, like, I would argue less slim than him actually doing all this, like committing suicide and killing his wife and kid. I think it's next to a 0% chance as of right now. We're going to look at a suspect that it could potentially be a reason from the past, but I think it's more reasons from prior to the murder. So basically, he was from high school on. He was really, really passionate about filmography. When I say filmography, I mean rather it's more like he really just wanted to like make movies. And a lot of his stuff he had shot was basically military-like. They had military tactics and strategies being used. And kind of like playing soldier. So a few of him and his friends, even after high school, hello, how's it going? Him and a few of his friends after high school decided to join the military. They ended up joining the military, and they ended up, becoming like soldiers. And as time went on, some of his other friends decided they don't want to do that anymore. He wanted to get out after he met his wife. Well, soon to be wife. After he met her, it was like something like 6. No, I'm not getting back on Go, unfortunately. It takes up way too much time, and I need to have that time with my family and all this. And so the things I'm investigating these videos are the videos I'm doing on YouTube now are, I would argue I believe there's something people need to be hearing. Go and stuff. I mean, it's fun and everything, but it was just, Sylph was kind of stagnating for me as well. So I was kind of just like, eh. But on top of that, with COVID and everything, how much can you do? People weren't wanting to meet up, and that was part of the big thing with Go, anyways, was the meetups and all this. But, thank you for tuning in again, though. Do appreciate that. Like I said, this content, it's something I would argue it's pretty good to at least get a listening on. My Twitch streams on this are just going to be basically cases, whether it be anything paranormal, supernatural, to any kind of actual criminal case. We could be looking at some really strange mysteries. I'm also going to be streaming different games as well, mostly like mystery related, but I am getting my Mugen overlays and all this put together right now, but I'm going to be doing Mugen as well. I think it's going to be more along the lines of, I haven't decided if it's going to be more me playing against the computer or what. I've heard there's online Mugen tournaments. I don't know how that would work, but if there's a way to do it, then hey, that would be something I might be interested in doing as well. But it'll probably be like AI versus AI, just kind of like not like taking like legit bets, but like, hey, who do you guys think is going to win this fight? Let's pick some fighters and let's see how they do, kind of thing. But I'm also going to be doing, starting next year, most likely like mid-January, we're going to start doing the Hunt-A-Killer boxes as well. And trying to go and solve those as quickly as possible, while also giving some really entertaining, really fresh-looking overlays and all this. So, no, I'm not going to be able to go back to Go. Like I said, I don't have the time. And family life is far more important than Go to me. I really want to make sure I'm there more for my kids. Like I said, I thought I had enough time going for them. So, but unfortunately, I did not. So me getting back into Go is an actual impossibility. So I do apologize for that if it disappointed you or anything. But back to the case though. Where were we? Oh, yes. Okay. So with Crowley, what he ended up doing, he ended up getting involved when he was over there. He ended up meeting, I don't remember her full first and last name and all this, but this young lady, Kamel. And pardon me for butchering her name. It's a terrible thing for me to say anyways, but so he ended up meeting her, and I believe it was like 6 weeks later they were married. He ended up, they ended up going back to Texas. They ended up getting hitched there. But then soon after, it wasn't long after, he got the news that he was going to be redeployed over to Iraq. He didn't want to go back. In fact, his father actually on the A Gray State documentary, which is a Hollywood film. Before anybody says anything, it technically is. It had some Hollywood actors, director, whatever. I don't know what it is. Werner Herzog was like the executive producer behind that one. So he's a pretty good size popularity wise in Hollywood. If you guys have seen The Mandalorian, he is in The Mandalorian as a character in there. Really, really fantastic actor. He plays a very, very, really, really good, serious, villainous kind of character in a way. More like I would say like a political kind of villain. He plays great. But back to what I was saying. He got behind this and got behind a few other people. Like it was the other. I think it was like another director or something like this. It was behind Gray State as well, or producer or something. And they basically ended up shooting this film. I thought it was actually kind of, I thought it was kind of messed up, actually. After watching, I've only got about, I think 10, 12 minutes left in the movie. So there's not a whole lot left. I don't think I'm missing a whole lot. I mean, I could be incorrect on that, but long story short, what ended up happening with it is they kind of show him in a really, really terrible light by the end of the movie. Midway through the documentary, they're already kind of making him seem like he's this, really almost like sociopathic type of individual, probably suffering from PTSD. Obviously, he was conflicted because he's looking at these things that obviously they couldn't be true, right? No. He covers that extensively. He's been on different shows that have talked about different kinds of, I'm not going to call them conspiracy theories because a lot of it you can look up yourself and see that they're not necessarily conspiracy theories. Rather, they are conspiracies. And it's not there's no theory because you can see that there are facts behind it, including names when they mention them by name. You'll also notice they can't claim slander. They can't claim libel because you can prove it's real. Kind of how that one works out. But he was on InfoWars, and he also went to Paul Fest, I think is what it's called. It's basically a Ron Paul festival where they kind of get together and they all get behind the Libertarian Party and all this. I don't want to get too much into politics on that. But so when he was redeployed, though, just kind of get back on track here, he was unable to be there for his wife, who when he left, she was pregnant. And she ended up giving birth while he was deployed to their daughter, Rania Crowley. So, and she was incredibly attached to her. All this, I mean, she was able to while he was also gone. She also completed her dietitian. I think it was a bachelor's degree or something like this, or maybe it was even a master's. I have to look at it again. We'll look at that tonight, actually. Not that there's a huge detail here, but she got very, very, very into being a dietitian, really, really happy with that. And that became a really big joy for her. So, kind of a passion and a career at the same time. That's pretty great. It's always great when that can happen. But so when he came back, obviously, there's the military stuff, he had that as a background and everything, but he wanted to go back to school. So he went back to school for film. And then he ended up meeting this guy. What was his name? I have to look this name up again. It was, let's see, what was it? It was, I think it was David, another David guy. Let me see if I can find his name. We'll cover this in just a second. Danny Mason. It's this guy right here. And these are some of the, like I said, these guys right here, all of these guys right here have already been labeled kind of as a suspect. In the open investigation, it's supposed to be an open investigation, at least right now, but these guys here are this is his brother, this is one of his friends, this was his partner, I guess, when it comes to Gray State, and I believe this is one of his other friends as well that was involved as well. I think just these three here are the ones who were involved with Gray State. I know he was, but I don't remember if he was or not. I'm pretty sure though. But he was the guy playing the main character, the hero. And they had a falling out too. We'll get into that in a sec anyways. But yeah, he got involved with quite a few different people here. We can even look at some of the attachments he had formed. Different films that have come out that actually expose quite a bit of different that have basically helped out with filming the movie to some degree, where there'd be interviews, things like this. But he also, they'd known the guy kind of in a way. They talked to him, and well, Alex Jones is like probably the biggest influence on him when it came to his movie. But yeah, we'll get into this in just a sec. Like I said, there's a lot to cover here. But I do want to go and throw this out before we get too much farther in. This right here. I want you guys to really, really take this in. He stated it himself. There is an MP3 of this. I would highly suggest listening to it if you get a chance. I'm not going to play anything. So, you know, if some of the stuff I might, but not going to play this necessarily. So, well, you know what? Let's go for it. Oh. We'll go play it then. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not. Yeah, it's the same thing he's saying right here. If anything happens to me, I would never kill myself. And he's just trying to basically that's something when people start getting in too deep. I mean, people that know me personally have heard me say this myself. Especially when it comes to looking into some of this stuff. If anything happens to me, I'm even going to say it live, and it's going to be a video, so you guys will actually have proof of this. If anything happens to me, okay, so for instance, if I were to get killed somehow, and they were trying to say, like, let's say the case said, oh, it was a double homicide or triple homicide suicide, for instance, if it came to my, you know, like my family ends up, you know, getting off at the same time I do, I would never do that. I love my family way too much. Never happen, ever, not ever. I would defend them to the very last breath. You know, I would never do that. But it's the same thing. If anything, if there were to be my homicide, and they're just like, oh, this is clearly a suicide, I wouldn't kill myself. I'm going to be very, very controversial when I say this, and I don't mean to offend people. It's not the point here, but I have such a strong will that I would never, ever kill myself. I've just got that strong of a will. Never. There's not a thing anybody can make me do or get me to do to kill myself. You know? It's just throwing that out there. So, you guys have heard it. It'll be on the video as well when I do put this up on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Odyssey, all this. Or not Twitch, but BitChute. So it'll be up there, so you guys will see. And there's going to be plenty of proof covering it, not to mention I'll have it on backup. So, you guys know. But, same thing. This is what people, when they get into this stuff, when they start looking into these types of people, these groups and all this is something they will always say, especially if they really do feel that way. If they're like, I'm not suicidal at all. Why would I do that? That's absolutely that's bonkers. No thanks. You know, I love my family. I'd never do that. Yeah, granted, there are people that have said, oh, I'll never hurt my family, and they end up hurting their family. I get it. And even people with like PTSD, they don't want to hurt their spouse. They don't want to hurt their friends or family, and they end up killing them or they hurt them because PTSD, and they don't mean to, or maybe they do. Maybe just something happens and they just snap and lose it. But it's, once again, this guy, there's been plenty of people that have gone in and looked at this case and said, no, this man did not have PTSD. No, I can't go out there and I'm not a psychologist. You know, I'm not a therapist. I cannot definitively tell you he did not have PTSD. There are people, I've talked to people about this. There are people out there that have PTSD, and you would never know. You would absolutely never know. They have everything that much in control. So there are people that can hide it. They know what they're feeling. They know what it is. they know how to kind of keep themselves in check. They might go and close themselves off from the world for a little bit, just to kind of, hey, I don't want to go and be in a position where anything like this could happen. So once again, this guy made it very clear he would not kill himself. But back on the story here. So he had basically, when he went back to film school, met up with Danny Mason, and they got this project going. They're like, hey, let's go and do this project about, the New World Order, the NWO. Let's look at this. Let's see what we can find on this. And let's get a story together, and let's, give people hope in a way. It's really, really dark, but we can throw a hero's journey in there. And he talks about this in the documentary. There's footage of this, and once again, I'm pretty sure it was also released to other outlets as well. There's footage of this. He's got this giant wall, and he's talking about this hero's journey. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with it, I'll look it up so I can show you guys. Just so I can just, whoopsies. So we're just going to look at this just from this standpoint here. Okay. Let's see if you guys can see it. You guys, all right, let's go ahead and we'll go like this and open link. Image new tab. It's not a very good picture. All right, let's just go see if we can see it. Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. So this is basically how it goes. You have your call to adventure, supernatural, and almost any of this can happen first. This guy needs a tone for something in the past. He transformed, whatever. This is where this starts. Okay. Now, where the movie starts, it doesn't really, in my opinion, I don't think it necessarily matters. As of right now, I'm still looking at it, and we'll look at this as well. So this could very well change. Where I think this essentially started was right here. The Threshold Guardians. And the reason I say it started here, because the movie literally starts off with this guy, Danny Mason's character, literally standing up against this, the Deep State, the NWO. Him and his militia do. And they've got the call to arms. They got a recruitment video. They got all these other things trying to get people in. And then they end up going through all these things. Here's the challenges and temptations. They end up losing right here. But they're getting their militia together. They end up standing up against them. A bunch of them die and lose and all this kind of stuff, get captured, whatever. This guy decides to go and kind of become a gray man for, to kind of keep an eye on things and watch. And then so at this point, he's also trying to save people whenever he can, and remain the gray man. And then basically something happens, and he has to return to it, and he starts fighting back against them again. This is basically how this all goes. And he talks about extensively when he's talking about his movie. Thing is, with this guy, like I said, that's his big thing. He wants to get this going. He gets some shots that are absolutely they're dark, real dark. He's getting actors to literally just regular everyday Joes just kind of happen to be in the area. He asks, hey, you guys want to be in a movie? People sign up, or they just kind of okay, fine, let's go and do this. And they end up getting into positions where it's really creepy. Like, for instance, having to act like they're being executed, or being the executioners, things like this. They had some really, really, I would argue they're just kind of creepy, just because they're just so real and they feel so real. But once again, why do you go to the military? Well, he wanted to go and make sure when he's doing his films that are about the military, he can be 100% accurate in how it would actually go down. That's why it's so freaky. So, like I said, highly suggest watching the trailer. You'll see it on there, and it's just like, wow, okay, that's a trip. That's so realistic. Yeah, granted, is the CGI and all this kind of stuff is really shoddy, but once again, it was a concept trailer. So as time's going on, he's shooting his movie, his kid's growing up, there was definitely going to be some financial strain on his wife, because his wife was one bringing in all the money. and all that. But, and everybody around him can apparently see that they were kind of having some rough patches in their marriage. Once again, they got married after 6 weeks. So, in my opinion, is that bound to happen? Absolutely. It's 6 weeks. How well do you guys know each other at 6 weeks? But once again, who am I to judge? It's not my place. Love is love. That's how it is. But he absolutely adored his wife. Everybody around Kamel, his wife, like all of her, like her business partners, her coworkers, things like this, or they all had the same thing to say about him, about their relationship, that she was just head over heels in love with him. And to quote, let me see if I can find that real quick. Where is it? She spoke about David in a high school manner. So to break down, what is a high school manner type of manners when it comes to love? Very excited. You can obviously tell she's madly in love with him. Once again, they hadn't been together very long, and normally people usually wait like a year or two at least before they get married, and they got married after 6 weeks. So that it's kind of like that honeymoon phase in the relationship. It's like everything's going great, and yeah. So, but she was a Muslim prior to meeting David, and David was able to or he converted her to Christianity. And they got married, like I said, over in Texas, and then all this kind of went down. So, but just to kind of bring some things up, and this is going to come into it later, and I'm going to make this very clear. I don't want to use the word hate on this, but he disliked Islam to a very, very high degree. He felt it subjugated people. And that's something his father directly spoke about, saying that that's what he had said. So, when it gets into it later, when you start seeing some things that are very, very, like they're gonna, like the mainstream media was basically trying to say that he was taking stabs at his wife with it. No, she had been a Muslim for years at that point. I don't think so. Not to mention they were madly in love. And great thing about this website here, we can actually, where is it? Let's see if I can find it. We can actually go and see her, see the way she had spoke about him. Right, where is it? Final cell phone texts from Kamel Crowley. So, just to kind of give kind of a brief overview. Let's see. We're going to go over it real quick. Weird. I haven't even read these myself either, but these are supposed to be what it's about. So who is this then? So we see Kamel right here. Do you have a favorite program plugin or something? Okay, so I mean this is interesting. I don't know. Okay, those are absolutely. I was wrong. Those are actually pretty useless. So, what we'll do, because basically, long story short, what this kind of got into. I know I keep saying long story short. What happening was, the police, they saw this scene after they got a 911 call from one of the neighbors. The neighbor's husband ended up calling, seeing there was still Christmas gifts on their porch. And so he went to go knock on their door, see if they were in there, heard the dog, comes over to the window, looks in, and sees a couple of bodies with a black handgun nearby. Notice you'll see that once again, when we get into this, I will get you guys the link right now so you guys can actually read all this yourself. Actually, let me do this one. Do this one instead. For starters. Basically, the guy didn't mention blood, things like this, initially. So, there is the 911 phone call. You can hear it. All this, if you guys want to take a listen, you guys can gladly go do that. It'd be fantastic. But you guys can see all these different things here, including the crime scene photos. I am not going to get into the crime scene photos. Some of them are quite horrific. I can't show them. I'll put it that way. I cannot show them on Twitch. I've got a feeling that something would happen to my stream and it would get shut down. So I'll put it that way. I'll make some graphics most likely tonight and tomorrow to kind of go over the case a little more. We're going to go over the blueprints tomorrow. That seems the big thing is we're going to go over blueprints. Is I have to go and get this actually labeled down. I did not have a chance to get down to that today because I was working on the COVID-19 video, which just to get you guys that the name of that video is, you guys will see it, like I said, tomorrow. It is The False Crown of Pestilence. It's a play on one of the four horsemen. So, and obviously it's a false crown. You guys will see why I give up a crap ton of sources. So don't be afraid to take a look at those as well. That is, I would say watching the video is like a quarter of the battle, really. Watching the rest of them, like actually checking the sources and looking at it yourself, you'll see this is what I'm talking about. It's real. It's terrifyingly real. I'm not going to get into it too much, but you'll see where I'm kind of aligning why I called it the false crown of pestilence. It's kind of alluding to kind of how I feel about COVID, which, yeah. But really what this case looks at here is they basically, when the police got to the scene, they were just kind of like, oh, this guy, he killed his wife and daughter, made some stabs at her being a convert from Islam, and offed himself. That's not what happened. I guarantee you that is not what happened. There's been plenty of people look at it. You can look at the crime scene photos, not to mention, if you were to look at the difference between these two, this is what the police released to the general public to see. This is what I believe was leaked. So, or the coroner's office or whatever did this. Regardless, you can see there's differences. This, you're going to see stabs at potentially, like if it is right, I mean, but regardless, the term Allahu Akbar, you'll see that on there. On the wall, apparently he smeared that on the wall with her blood. Yeah, kind of gruesome. Supposedly. But other things to mention was, and this is what I had, everything I'd read and heard about what happened with David's body was he was missing his right hand. Completely missing it. So, he was also a right-handed person, but they tried to say that he used his left hand to shoot a gun. He is right-handed. Why would he be using a left hand for that? Don't think so. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a possibility that the police are right on this. I think if it were my opinion, I think it's a 0% chance. I think the cops are literally trying just to like brush over this as quickly as possible. Don't want to get involved. This guy was, he was trying to go and wake people up. That was the big thing here. He was really trying to wake people up. So, which once again, I give him kudos to that. That's the same thing I'm trying to do, is wake people up to what's going on, So, long story short, I gotta really stop saying that. So, But the crime scene was really, really brutal. He didn't kill his dog. Apparently, he had tried to kill his dog or whatever, according to some accounts on here. And but he didn't. His dog survived and was surviving in the house, locked in the house, just fine. I'm not going to get into the details about it. It's just quite gruesome. But yes, his dog was fed. Yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth just even saying that, or even thinking it. But this is a healthy family. That's the thing. It was a very, very healthy in the manners, or in the mannerism of, or in the description rather, of they ate healthy, they were in pretty good shape, and they loved each other. But there were some issues here. Obviously, he was a stay-at-home dad, but he was also on the road often, promoting his movie. But the thing is, people tried to leave it at that. Like, oh, well, he was not bringing in the money. Well, the thing is, he was, and he had a plan, and his wife was incredibly supportive of him. They got married after 6 weeks. I think that says a lot about her character and his. And the fact that she was that supportive even up until their death, or until his death, says something. That literally speaks miles about her character and his. Now, he had some, like I said, you look into this stuff. If you guys have ever heard Alex Jones speak, let's be honest, he does sound a bit wacky. I think even he would argue the same thing. He gets a little out there sometimes. You guys ever watch Joe Rogan, things like this? When they have their interviews with him, he admits to it. Joe even goes on about it too. You're kind of getting a little nutty here, What are you talking about? But this stuff, it literally will, I would argue, kind of eats away at sanity. Does that necessarily mean, like, for instance, me? Am I insane? No. You got to have an outlet. You have to have an outlet. I've got kids. David had kids, or he had a kid. Didn't want any more than that one, but he had a kid, and he loved his wife. Yeah, there were some things about him. He had some personality flaws. Everybody has those. Was he controlling? Absolutely. You can see it when they go over it in the documentary. Which, once again, the guy was basically running the whole show by himself. Was it by choice? I would argue it wasn't. It seemed a lot like some of his other, the people involved with the movie were kind of just there, just taking orders. They didn't know anything about what to do. David was the guy who knew how to do everything. So it makes sense. But Como also took part in helping out with the movie. She gave feedback, things like this. And, I mean, was their relationship perfectly healthy? I would actually say no, it wasn't. But once again, whose relationship is perfectly healthy? I would argue everybody's got some kind of unhealthy parts of their relationship. So, once again, I know I'm kind of just going around in circles here. But when it comes down to this case, this is the really trippy part about it, is the police just quickly boom. It was a double murder. It was a suicide. Boom. He did it. But here's my thing. We're going to go look at his neighborhood. And I have a reason for this. So, you get the exact address real quick. We're going to look around his neighborhood. Not even just looking here. What do you guys notice? Well, the neighborhood is super small. They're all close-knit. Well, I don't want to say close-knit, but they're super close to each other, right? Let's take a look again. Totally are. And this is 2020. They're all next to each other. Super close. This guy shot these two people and then shot himself. There would have been a 911 call. Why was there a 911 call? My point exactly. So 3 weeks, they were literally inside of that house, decomposing for 3 weeks before anybody took any notice. Where was the family? Come and check on them. or the friends come check on them. 3 weeks is a long time to not talk to a friend or family. Yeah, they had distanced themselves to some degree. Family doesn't do that. I mean, they do that, but family also, like, they look out for each other. You know, if you got that real strong family bond, you look out for each other. You know, call to check in. No response. After a few times of that happening, welfare check. That's totally normal. Didn't happen. Not once during the 3 weeks. Neither side of the family. None of their friends. Not to mention, their daughter was out of school for 10 days, roughly. You know, in preschool. And she was also in a really, like, a pretty fancy preschool. It was a Montessori, I think it was called. Pretty nice school. 10 days that school would have called. They would have called for at least a welfare check. Nothing. These are oddities. Am I saying all these people they're all connected? No, I don't think so necessarily. At face value, I don't think they are. But it's a very, very strange case when it comes to this. So, let's go ahead and we'll take a look. So we have the two neighbors. What is it? Let's take a look real quick. There's their house. Yeah, I don't know who lives there now, but this is where they lived. This is where the Pachowskis were, whatever they were, the neighbors that came over. Apparently they lived over there. Didn't see anything. Saw the gifts, though. Looked in through the window. Once again, we're coming up this way. What do people normally do? You're going to see somebody. You're going up to their house, go knock on their window or knock on their door. You're going to look in those windows. You're going to look right there. No, I guess that wasn't working up again. You're going to look right in. You're going to look right in there. Chances are when you're walking up from this way, maybe not, but still. Stay right here. They didn't look in at first. That's a strange thing. Let's be honest. It's very strange. But the thing is also like 3 weeks. They said, oh, there was no intruder, no signs of an intruder. I mean, the house was kind of a disaster when looking in there. Yeah, granted. Oh, the dog, you be in there. That dog had a food supply there. Ugh. That makes me sick to think. Stayed in that general vicinity. Used restroom out, went and did his business elsewhere, but still was in that general vicinity. The whole house was like thrashed. Not to mention they had lockbox for her little gun safe. That was open. Thing is, there was multiple guns out. It doesn't make any sense. Why would there be multiple guns? My theory, currently, I think somebody did come in. I think it was somebody they knew. That's why there was no signs of a struggle. Somebody they knew. And he enacted the killings. Now, why? Who knows? I don't know. I honestly have no idea what the modus what the motive was for it, but that's why there would be no sign of a struggle. It was also in the winter, and over in this area, it snows heavily. So, why didn't anybody around there? Why didn't any alarm bells come up either? Not to mention, what they also found was you had Kamel, you had their daughter, right there, like pretty much in her lap. They were killed execution style. Okay, and then you had the Quran between them and David, and it was open to a prayer or like a prayer for forgiveness of the dead. On the wall, you had Allah, Allahu Akbar, which was smeared in, apparently in her blood. It doesn't make any sense. Not to mention, if we look at, let me see if I can bring that up real quick. Actually, I can't because it's under the crime scene photos. There's a photo the police took. And then keep in mind, they took a lot of useless photos too. A ton of those. I'm like, why did you take these photos? Why do you have so many photos of this? But then you look at blood splatter, there's 1 or 2 pictures of blood splatter. What the hell? You're looking at a crime scene, and especially a homicide or suicide, things like this, you want to see if there's blood splatter. You want to see distance. You want to see these things like this. Why? Because then you can kind of gauge, okay, what does a crime scene look like? That's what we're going to look at tomorrow, because I get to go and I get to basically recreate an entire crime scene. I get to do that on Photoshop, so I'm a little excited for this. I know it sounds really disturbing that I'm excited to recreate a crime scene, but I haven't been able to do that in a while, and it's excited to do that. We're going to see some exact measurements. We're going to see the blood splatter patterns, all this, how this happened, as much as possible. I'm going to get as much detail in as I can. If it isn't tomorrow, we will look. I will probably make another day of it if I can't get to it or finish it up by tomorrow. Get the. And it'll probably be about a half a stream at least, just to show that off. So it's going to be nuts. Oh, and this is July 2012. So no, this would have been his. He was alive. That was his car. Holy hell. Well, that's a trip. That's a trip. As it says, image captured July 2012. That is a trip. Damn. So this is one of those people, like, because of what I'm looking into all this. This is one of those people I definitely I would have loved to have met and talked with. No, I'm not going to go out and play, hero on this and be like, oh yeah, if him and I could have met, I could have stopped this whole. But no, I don't think so. It's a possibility, but very, very slim. I would argue. But I would once again this July 2012. I was here. I wasn't basic training then. So okay. But no, like I said, this guy, he had neighbors nearby. Why didn't anybody hear about it? Well, the thing is police also decided to leave out next to the Quran. There's another book that was used to muffle the noise of the gun. That's the part the police left out. That's the part the mainstream media left out. Doesn't really seem like it's a double homicide suicide, that does it? Not as much, right? Still could be, technically, by those standards, it still could be. But there was casings in the area. Initial crime scene photos did not show those off. They didn't really show off any bullet holes. They basically said that, yeah, he shot himself in the head. And he was doing point blank on all of it. Sad to think if that is true, what ended up happening, which once again, I don't believe it is. But if it is true, if Father does that, there's something else going on. Now, do I think he had PTSD? I think it's likely. I mean, he did get to see combat. He went to Iraq. He was double tour in Iraq, I believe. Or one was Afghanistan, something like this. But he was in the Middle East, and he saw combat both tours. Everything I've read, at least, is pointing to, yes, he'd seen combat. Even the documentary made it seem like he had seen combat both tours. So I'm just going to go off on a limb and just kind of go off of that. So can I provide a link for that? Yeah, go on Netflix, take a look at the Gray State documentary. There you go. I know it's kind of like a lame duck version of the link, but hey, I'm going to do it that way for that. But when it came down to it, like I said, I don't think he would commit homicide like that. I don't think so. Especially not his wife and kid. The kid was just like their world. Now, the thing is, there was parts to their relationship I'm still trying to figure out myself. Is if you look around in their bedroom, in the crime scene photos, you'd see that some of their stuff is kind of thrown about a little bit. So my belief is, okay, well, if they're going off of what they were trying to kind of allude to in the documentary, which they allude to like different motives. That's the problem. Is they try to seem like it's one thing. It's just one thing. He's crazy, and they were having issues in their relationship, and things were just, his life was so terrible. No. But let's say we just kind of indulge that. We go, okay, well, is it a possibility maybe she was leaving him? People break when that thing happens. If that could be, I think it's still less likely what was kind of going on. I seriously, honestly do think he was, I hate to use this loosely, but I'm going to use it very, very loosely because once again, this is clearly somebody they knew. I don't think it was a break-in at all. It was somebody they knew. As to why they committed the act, once again, I don't know. I'm still looking into. And we'll continue to investigate this. And this is going to be a case we're going to probably be looking at probably in a month or two down the road as well. But I feel like this was an assassination. I feel that David had too much information on something, or it was really irritating somebody to some degree, or maybe it was somebody that put in a crap ton of money into his project, and then upon hearing later on is like I said, I'm going to cover up a bunch of stuff, and we're going to kind of go more in depth tomorrow about this, but basically there was no return. There was not going to be any, I'm getting this film. I'm going to get this film before everybody else, or I'm getting some kind of extra promotional stuff, or, I get the unedited version, or no. He wanted just to release it. He wanted to release it for everybody to see. So now all these backers, what did they pay for? Ask a comic book fan, that they're putting their money into a new comic. They're investing into it. And all of a sudden, see all those rewards they're supposed to be getting. He's gonna have to go on. Now he's just like, I'm gonna release the comic for free. Everybody can have it. And all those rewards, we're getting rid of those. Nobody needs those rewards. I'm just releasing this. That'd piss some people off, right? Makes sense. Well, the same thing can be applied even when it comes to movies. Or any other genre, even genres in a genre. For instance, looking into quote-unquote conspiracy theories. So a theory, just throwing it out there, just kind of very, very much air quoting the crap out of that. But when people look into conspiracies and things like this, they invest. I would know. I invest when I look into some of these theories. I try to find, okay, where's the fact? Where's the fiction? There's a line, there's a differentiation, or there's a point where you can draw that line, like, okay, this is fiction, this is fact. So there are those lines, and once again, some of these people, they don't draw it. There's some things that just, once again, that's not how this works, or that's not what happened here, things like that, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no. But that is what happened. You didn't include this information, and this is true. Well, maybe they didn't do that good of an investigation themselves. But regardless, those are some things we're looking at here. So what do you guys think? You guys got any ideas on, so far, what exactly went down? Do you guys think him and his family were murdered? Do you think he murdered them, or murdered his family and killed himself? What do you guys think? I'll give you guys a little bit while I'm pulling some more things together for this. This next, we're going to kind of go over the movie. Yeah, it's this would have been. I'm one of those people that would have totally been like, yeah, this is a fantastic movie. This is a good idea, to get out there. I agree fully. It is, but this is the problem. This is kind of like the price you pay, because when you look into this stuff and you start reporting on it and you start trying to expose it, you basically put a giant target on yourself. And if you expose too much that they don't want the public to really focus in on, especially if it's getting too much publicity, they're going to try and get rid of that. They don't want that heat on them. Think like the mob back in the day. During Prohibition era, did they want the police like really hot on their trail when they've got their little their speakeasies going? No, of course not. But yeah, the movie is what I think is the reasoning why he and his family were killed. That's just firmly what I believe right now. Let's go ahead. Like I said, when he goes over the movie, that's kind of just, that's why I think it happened. You guys would have to go and check out his the Gray State Facebook page to read more about that. I'll see if I can find it on here as well. But there were some pretty salty comments on there. People mad because they were kind of being like troll, or like not trolls, but like they wanted the return investment essentially. Really like, hey, when am I going to be seeing this movie? Oops. We're going to look at the police report first. So, I'm looking at this. Gotta take note on a few different things here. Incident type, homicide. All right. They had enough room. They could have put suicide too. Title, homicide. Could have put suicide. Notice you're not seeing suicide here. See, that's the part to really pay attention to. So you'll notice there is no suicide on this. They go all as homicide, and there happens to be like 94 pages, I believe it is. Oh, now it goes into homicide suicide. Right here. On page 28. That's where it gets to be the homicide suicide. So, just to kind of get that. So, there's a lot to go over this. See if I can take this. Ooh, can I? No, it will not let me do that. So, you guys can see it here. I'll get you guys this just so you guys have the exact link. If you guys want to check out the police report, follow along. So, if you guys want to see this, we're going to go over this as quickly as possible. We're going to kind of just... $185, I believe it was. Yeah. Okay, so it's murder in the first degree. causes the death of a human being while committing, conspiring to commit, or attempting to commit a felony crime to further to further the terrorism, and the death occurs under circumstances manifesting an extreme indifference to human life. That's basically how that breaks down. Okay, so that's how they automatically, when they got there, how they labeled it. Does it need a follow-up? Yeah. Investigation? Yeah. They're saying no, not drug-related. No, not domestic-related. Right here, it says not domestic violence. Done. Not gang-related. Nope. Keep in mind, this here, the domestic-related, that it was labeled as, oh, there were signs of domestic abuse. There was no signs of domestic abuse. The police label it clearly right there. Okay, so here's all the officers that were involved. John Broughton, Greg Dahlstrom, Adam Keeler, Tara Becker, James Gummard, Brian Bone, Michael Teets, Sean McKnight, Tommy Booth. Okay, so we got 5 investigators. We got a primary investigator, or primary officer there. I think it was the first one that showed up. The supervisor of the said officer, 2 assisting officers as well. And this was reported on 1/17/2015. So 3 weeks. Okay. We're going to look at this real quick. So we're looking at 2015. We're looking at January. Whoops. January 2015, wasn't it? Yeah. January 17th, 2015. So 3 weeks. 1, 2. So it would have been just before Christmas. Or just after Christmas. But see, they had gifts on their porch. That means it had to have been before this. So we're looking at it's probably at least the 24th. That's when the crimes were committed, I would argue. Unless it could have happened before that as well. But they said it was 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks prior. Well, why is there Christmas gifts on the porch? Did they drop it off after Christmas? Possibly. But their Uncle Danny dropped the things off. Interesting, right? Especially since their Uncle Danny, or not their uncle, his brother was viewed as a suspect. Shortly after the double homicide-suicide, he took a trip to Vegas. Made a group for it and got all these different kinds of things going, and he just happened to have all this extra money, all this kind of thing. The guy is kind of, suspicious right here. Not to mention he's still visiting, his brother's dog when he was at home with him, eating. But he also had this strange Facebook photo that was also up on his Facebook page as well. But I'm not going to get into it too much. We're going to go back over the police report. So, it was reported on the 17th of 2015 at 12:56. All right, keep in mind, this is military time. Okay, so this is afternoon. Once again, I'm not trying to be kind of degrading or belittling or whatever this anybody would try to be potentially offended by us, but it's the thing is some people wouldn't recognize it. Oh, it's just 12:56, so it's a 12:56 a.m. No, it's p.m. Officers arrived on scene 8 minutes later, so that's pretty quick. Nice. It was also for homicide, so once again, one officer arriving. Yeah, I would say there'd probably be more arriving pretty quickly. And it was cleared 4 hours later. Okay. Of course, you get the address. The start date for incident details. So, parties involved, we're going to get on this. So, we got Judy Lee Prochnow. So, we got her ID and all this. We got her number. Don't go and bug anybody. Okay, whatever you guys do, don't bug her. Don't bug anybody. We're gonna go over her here in a second. Okay, so she mentioned. Okay, Renia Lynn Crowley, which is his daughter. There's also mentioned David Crowley. He was 29 at the time. Okay, I need to adjust that. He's 29. And we have Kamel, who is 28. So they're still young people. Had a lot to live, or a lot ahead of them, and this happened. This sucks. Really sucks. And see, this is when they were still using Arab. All this. They wouldn't do that. Now I believe they're just designated as Middle Eastern or Indian descent. You know, and then we got his daughter was mentioned. She was 5. And then you got person 5 that was mentioned here, which was Judy's husband, Colin Prochnow. Two different area codes. Interesting. Where is it? Interesting. Slightly different. Okay. Then we also have Brett Millay, which is another neighbor. 29-year-old guy right next to him. Big boy. I know this is probably something stupid, but whatever. I'm going to still look anyways. I don't care. But he was light. He was a light guy. And then you got this guy, big guy. Dang. He's 6'8"? Holy crap, he's huge. A little taller than me, like 4 inches. Ish. Let's see. And then you got his wife. Yeah, it looks like it's 2 families had heard about it. Okay. So that's interesting. Why didn't they say anything? So the statement on this was Judy Prochnow. As she saw 3 dead bodies inside the residence, discovered the bodies after going to check on the family and packages that were left on the front doorsteps. She saw the bodies through the front living room window. Sergeant Dahlstrom, Officer Keeler, Officer Becker, and Officer Broughton, or Detective Broughton, responded to the call. Medics requested to stage nearby. This person, John Broughton, arrived after Sergeant Dahlstrom and Officer Becker, who were approaching and checking the front of the residence. He was advised 3 dead bodies laying on the living room floor of the home. He was instructed to check the rear of the residence for any signs of forced entry. The backyard is fenced with a chain link fence, and the gates were closed but not locked. As I entered the backyard, I did not see any fresh footprints. Once again, 3 weeks. That you're obviously not going to see any. The snow, other than animal tracks. All windows, including the window well basement windows, were all closed with no signs of forced entry. The rear sliding patio door was found open slightly. That right there gives a little clue here. Look into that. By a 1/4 inch, somebody came in through the back potentially then. I opened the door and found that it was not locked or secured with a bar lock. When I opened the patio door, there was an overpowering odor of decaying flesh. Pardon me for that. The dining room light was on, but all other house lights from this location were off. The Christmas tree lights and other strings of Christmas lights were still lit. No noises other than the dog barking could be heard inside. Other officers on scene were advised of this information. I held this position until Sergeant Dahlstrom and Officer Keeler arrived in back to enter and clear the residence. During a walk around the home, I looked into the front living room window and observed 3 bodies laying on the living room floor. They were all badly decomposed. One adult body was laying on its back with a small semi-auto pistol nearby. The second adult body appeared to be laying on its stomach and or side. Between the 2 adult bodies was the body of a small child. At this time, the bodies are presumed to be that of the homeowners David Timothy Crowley and Kamel Rasul Crowley and their daughter Renia Crowley. While other officers cleared the residence, I took digital photos of the exterior of the home, secured the front yard police barricade tape, made contact with Judy and her husband Colin, explained that Crowley's moved into their residence just over a year ago. Okay. So maybe not 2012. They believed it was, November, December 2013. Okay, so that photo wasn't actually the person. It was not the family. They had very limited contact with the Crowleys, who appeared to them to be a very normal family and neighbor. However, the prognosis noticed that David's behavior started to change. Late in the fall of 2014, David began wearing military-type clothing frequently and cut his hair in a mohawk style. They also mentioned that the Crowleys almost always have the drapes pulled down on their living room window. Makes sense. Why would anybody want to have people peeking in? Makes sense. They thought it was unusual that the drapes were up recently for such an extended period of time. Proctors believed that they last saw the Crowleys just before Christmas. Made contact with Brett Millay and his wife Caitlin Millay, who reside nearby. They had no information to offer at this time other than to say that last they saw the Crowley family just before Christmas. They had not seen any activity since then. Once again, gunshots. Even with a book, you're still going to hear. Sorry, but you will hear it. That's loud. He didn't have a silencer on, so you're still going to, even with a silencer, you're still going to see a flash in the house, all this, you're still going to, you can still hear things. Not as well, but you can still hear. The silencer does not completely get rid of the sound. Not to mention, you're going to be hearing people crying loudly. Let's see. 911 caller reported seeing dead bodies in the residence. Okay. Who did this one? This is by Dahlstrom. Noticed a medium-sized dog barking and running among the bodies. I advised dispatch of the findings and requested the channel be restricted to emergency traffic. I then took up a position on the west side of the residence and waited for backup to arrive. Broughton and Becker arrived a short time later. Advised of the findings. They could all smell the odor of decaying bodies. Okay, so slightly different than what Broughton was saying. Not that that's a big deal, but it very well could be. Once again, you got air going in there. That airflow is going to help those bodies decompose as well. So, technically speaking, could it have been 3 weeks or could it have been sooner? See my point here? They last saw them before Christmas. Could it have been after they were still alive? It's a possibility. They became kind of shut-ins for a while. Open the door and lured the dog outside where it was captured. Protective sweep of the residence, looking for additional victims or hazards. Now keep in mind, when you guys look at it, I'm going to go and cover this as well. There was no bloody dog footprints. That's the really, really bizarre thing here. Okay. There's dog feces all over the floor. Don't see that either. Check the garage first, and the main level, and lastly, the basement. On the main level, in the living room, we located 3 decaying bodies, 2 adult and 1 child. All were heavily decayed. I noticed several bloody footprints on the floor in the area between the kitchen and living room. We left the area undisturbed and left the residence. I posted officers to secure the scene and requested that CSO, the crime scene office booth, or crime scene officer booth, start a crime scene log. I asked him to write down every person who entered the scene. I requested dispatch, contact our detectives and BCA. Lastly, I contacted Captain Burmel and provided him with a synopsis of what he knew at this point. I remained on scene and coordinated exterior security. Okay. All right, we go on to this page. Who is on this? So this is Becker. Does the same thing. Now we're starting to get some extra people here. Okay. All right. Now we get Lorraine Tuppy. It's also nearby. It's like right next door to Brett Millay. And then you also get Anne-Marie Hickson, who is nearby as well. So basically they want to sweep the neighborhood and see what they could find. Then you also have William Hickson. So older neighborhood, this kind of sounds like, with some newer, younger people kind of moving in. Okay. All right. There was dispatch there. Let's see. See, the thing is, you watch the documentary. It wasn't actually Judy who checked on the house. It was actually her husband, Colin. So, Judy, get your story right. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe Colin gets your story right. Let's see. Okay, so she took digital photographs of the residents, including nearby neighbors' residences as well, located in a mailbox station to the east of the residence. Took a digital photograph of the mailbox labeled 1051 that belonged to the residence in question. Opened the mailbox, found a very full mailbox, and removed a piece of mail containing the name David Crowley. So another piece of mail in the name of Camille Crowley. All the remaining mail was left in the mailbox. The postmaster was arriving at this time and handed me today's mail, which was placed inside the mailbox. Spoke to Lorraine Tuppy, one house east of the Crowley residence. Tuppy indicated that she had not seen any of the three residents at the Crowley home for over 3 weeks. Over 3 weeks. Now keep that in mind. She's saying over. And you'll see later on the coroner actually said it was like 3 weeks. The body had been decaying. Stated the male party that lived there was David and that he had a young daughter who was approximately 5 or 6 years old, and her name was Renita. It was actually Renia. Tuppy could not recall the wife's name, but stated that she believed that she was East Indian. Tuppy stated that her husband, Larry, talked to David much more often than she did, but he was not available due to being at their cabin up north. Tuppy stated that the Crowleys were brought to her attention today when her other neighbor, Colin Prochnow, came over and asked if she knew where the Crowleys might be. Why would he ask? Go knock on the door. Okay. Stated that she thought they had been possibly gone to Texas for the holidays and just weren't back. Tuppy volunteered to call David Sull, see where they were at last-ditch effort to get into contact with them. Tuppy stated that she then used her landline, call the cell phone that she had on record for David. Tuppy stated that the phone went right to voicemail, and she did not leave a message. Tuppy stated that she had begun to walk across the yard connecting her house to the Crowleys in the snow when she was informed by the Prochnows that she should probably turn around based on what they had seen inside. Tuppy stated that she knew David to be somewhat of an artist and that he was doing some work with screenplays and films, and had told her husband that he had sold a screenplay and was working with some lawyers, and that it had something to do with guns and gun control, or possibly the gun industry. Tuppy also indicated that she had observed David to be moody at times, stating that sometimes he was very friendly and other times he would appear to try and avoid any contact. That makes sense. He's busy. He gets involved in it. I do the same thing. I totally get that. Tuppy could not pinpoint a time when she last saw all the Crowleys. Did not take digital photographs of the shoes Tuppy was wearing when she walked from residence. Wow, that's bad procedure there. Thanks, officer. From residence to the front stoop area before being informed of the Prochnows that it would probably be best that she return to residence. Those photographs have been uploaded to the AVPD secure server for future use if needed. I recorded a statement from Tuppy, and it will be uploaded to the AVPD secure server for future use if needed. Okay, so she was basically handling some digital photography, and she handled, or get the crime scene photos, quick ones, and then handling like witness testimony, neighbors, things like this. Kind of just doing a brief little canvassing, if you will. Let's see. He did indicate that sometime between December 2nd and 19th, he woke between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. to the sound of gunshots. Colin attempted to narrow down when he had heard the gunshots and estimated that it may have been on the 9th or 10th. Colin did not contact law enforcement, but stated that he checked out his front door and didn't see anything, and checked out the back of his residence and thought it was fireworks. Colin states that he did hear the gunshots from the area of the Crowley residence. Colin also indicated that he noticed a big change in David's appearance sometime in September 2014. Colin stated that he believed that David was ex-military and had quit a few tattoos, but almost alarming to him was that he observed that he only dressed in army fatigues and had shaved his head into a style of a mohawk. Well, he was very, very anti-government. This kind of thing happens. I don't dress that way. I feel A, that would draw too much attention to myself, and B, I don't like to wear fatigues. So there's that too. Colin indicated that they never had a conversation about his appearance change, but they still had friendly contact after his change in his appearance in September, October months of 2014. Anne Marie and William Hickson, the residents, say that she does not know much about the Crowley family and could not give her any names of anyone that lives there. She only indicated that a white male lived there and that he appeared to be a good father to the little girl who was approximately 5. Hickson did not indicate that she has noticed that there is a certain light or candle that has come on every day since Christmas. Oh, has noticed. There's a certain light or candle that has come on every day since Christmas. Did not take a recorded statement from either Hickson party due to their limited information. I still would have. I feel like that's necessary. Why is a certain light or candle popping up? So I would say that's kind of key. So keep an eye on the area as well. And then tried to go and follow up with them in the Malays and couldn't. All right. Who wrote this one? This is Keeler. Going over the basic information. See, and they got this part redacted here. This could have been quite important, but who knows? We could potentially figure it out, but I mean, there's no information really after. Like there is down here, but it's going to be different. Include the basement or piles of dog feces. Okay, so that's where the dog was pooping. All over the floor on both levels of residence. Well, there was none on the main floor, and I'll go through and see if I can show you tomorrow. On the basement, noticed military equipment, guns, and ammo. Basement bedroom, I noticed military clothing, along with more military equipment, guns, cases, ammunition. No other people or animals were located in the residence. So yeah, there's that. Should be noted that in my original supplemental report, I forgot to mention that upon my arrival at this place, I activated car video for Squad 4 and pointed the camera toward the front of the residence. ICV was recording until the BCA's command van arrived on scene, blocked ICV's video of the residence approximately 3 to 4 hours later. Assistant taping off the... Okay, so, yeah. So we can actually get the outside and we can see that, okay, where they taped. Who was in charge of that and all this. We can see who entered the residence, who didn't. So these are things I'm going to cover. I've got a feeling this is going to probably go on the next weekend as well. So shouldn't be any more than 3 days, potentially. I mean, if we get enough and I can actually get this really, really well put together, then we've now got ourselves 4 days potentially. Unlikely, but potentially. Oh, whoops. There it is. Okay. And this is Gummert. So let's see. What do we got here? All right. Let's go through. All right. Perfect. Here we go. I got something different here. He breaks these things down too. State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Interesting. There was some processing. Okay. So Assistant Detectives McKnight, Teets, and members of the Dakota County Electronics Crime Unit Once the BCA processing team had completed a portion of their work processing the scene, he, along with the remaining detectives, entered the home to assist the processing, check the young girl's room, along with Detective Teeth for evidence, checked the master bedroom with several other detectives. They observed several glass pipes in the bathroom, along with a large plastic or glass bong on the counter area of the sink. Small amount of marijuana laying on the dresser. Well, the guy, he was, once again, this is something we've known. Somebody's got PTSD, marijuana helps. Not always, but it does help more frequently than not. So this is his way of medicating. Okay. Now, chances are very, very unlikely he got some kind of a medical marijuana license for this. Very, very unlikely, especially if they're saying he didn't have PTSD. That means he never got checked for it. He just knew. He's like, yeah, I experienced some stuff. I don't want to go and talk about it. You know. Once again, this comes down to military training as well. It's kind of frowned upon when this kind of thing happens. That's why you see all these movies about it too, where you got like military, former military soldiers going like straight up like nuts on people, while they're in the military still, because they witnessed things like death or explosions. They saw extreme amounts of trauma. And once again, trauma that comes in all sorts of different kinds of flavors. It's not going to be the same thing for everybody. Let's see. Detective Teets and Gummard searched the garage of the home. So it's the basement of the home. Garage was well kept and organized. If you look at that Google Maps, it was not, but that wasn't him. So, found a plastic tote in the trunk of one of the cars that contained gun ammo, medical supplies, water, and an empty handgun case. It appeared to me as if the case is going to be used for a survival kit. Well, yeah, of course it was. Look at what he was filming. In the basement laundry room, located several rifles enclosed in plastic gun cases. There were also boxes of military clothing next to the guns in a storage area, as well as a room next to the storage area. Several small and large plastic bottles of water. There were also numerous cans of food of various sizes. In the larger spare room area, there was additional military and police clothing. There was also several pieces of military and police equipment that appeared to be props for movie making. We also located several boxes of silver and gold coins. Once again, he was a prepper. This is not alarming, so just ignore that, basically. I mean, I don't want to say ignore it, but obviously it was not a robbery. Okay? If it was a robbery, those would have been taken. People would have looked quickly. But once again, gunshots went off. Using a book as a silencer. Who the hell does that? Amateurs. Not that I would know what to do, really, but, that's not going to be something you're going to want to use for it. Based on findings, it appeared to Gummard that this portion of the house was being used for stored survivalist type items. Yeah, makes sense. Nothing of evidentiary value was located in the basement. All the actual guns were taken from the scene and brought to the police department's property room for safekeeping. That means, in other words, they kept them. Let's be honest, that's directly what it means. Please see the detectives and officer reports for further details. And right here, boom, case status active. All right, who's next? Please note, I told the detectives to take the guns out of the home for safekeeping of the police department. Okay. What else we got here? Who is next? Ooh. Why are they redacting now? Interesting. Redacting 2 people. 5'3", 137, 5'10", 170. This looks like it's probably... Got a feeling it's the Punkowskis were there. Their name was. I want to see. Prochnow. No, they're 2 different people. Holy crap. Okay. 2 people we don't know now. Interesting. I was called to assist in this case on the afternoon of January 17, 2015. I responded to the police department and learned that earlier in the afternoon, AV officers responded to a call of dead bodies located in residence of 1051 Ramsell Drive. It learned that Apple Valley officers made entry in the house and confirmed that the bodies of 3 deceased individuals were located inside the residence and that a firearm had been located near the bodies. Let's see. Okay, so BCA was involved. Checked Dakota County property records and found that the residence was owned by David T. Crowley and Como Crowley. So ran David and Como's names in IA or the IQ. Clear in various social media websites. Listed David Crowley's phone number here is T-Mobile carrier, and Como had an AT&T carrier. Interesting. Why would they have 2 different ones? Okay, well, we're seeing this as something we've seen twice now. It looks like. Also ran these numbers through Clear and listed the service providers for the numbers. Prepared preservation letters for AT&T and T-Mobile to reserve any data these carriers may have for their phone numbers listed above. Fax preservation letters to their respective carriers. Detective McKnight was interviewing the neighbors that live at, which is the residence located just blank. We spoke to the homeowner blank and his blank, both of whom said the residence had been dark since around Christmas and that they hadn't seen the occupants in a long time. Said her room was on the back of the house and that lights on the back of the neighbors. Oh, okay. We're starting to piece this together. Would shine into her room if they were on. Okay. Okay. So they were directly behind him. Okay. Perfect. Said she hadn't seen anyone in the house since the weekend before Christmas school break. Ooh, chart 1219. Now let's take a look again. All right. They incorrectly put that should have been 2014. That doesn't make any sense right there. So we're going to look at 2014. We're looking at December 19th. Boom. That's a whole other week before. So we're looking at least 4 weeks now. Okay. All right. Said she believed the daughter had started school and that the mom was a stay-at-home mom. That's incorrect. Said she had never heard the couple fight and that she used to see the husband out running around the neighborhood. Lastly, blank said the mother talked about having her babysit the daughter, but that she didn't think he liked her. And that he seemed like he didn't want her to babysit. Our conversation with blank and his blank was audio recorded and downloaded to the secure server. So it looks like a dude and his daughter, potentially. Assisted with executing a search warrant. Assisted by searching the residence during the search. Look at an HK USP 40 handgun, which is a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, and a Marlin Model 60 rifle, the 22 caliber, in a room in the southeast corner of the basement of the residence. I think that's his office. Several other firearms had been located in this room. We're going to look this up right now. Marlin Model 60. Nope. And another one was an HK USP 40 handgun. There's the gun right there. Most likely, the black one. Okay. Several other firearms had been located in this room earlier and moved to the basement laundry room area. The firearms were later photographed, seized, and transported to the police department for safekeeping. A detailed list of the firearms, make, models, and serial numbers can be found on the search warrant receipt. I later transported the firearms and other evidence items to the police department and assisted Sergeant Gummert with securing them in the property room. Once again, case status is still active. Keep in mind, this is in 2020. This is in 2015 still. So that they're saying it's still active then. All right. That's 3 days after. It makes sense. Of course it's going to be active 3 days after. All right. So this guy here, Tommy Booth, spoke to Brent Millay. That's all. All right. On the initial walk, now this is about the body, so I'm going to forewarn you guys on that. Booth noticed what appeared to be two adult bodies and one child laying on the floor in the living room area. The child's body appeared to be in a later stage of decay and was missing her right arm. Eesh. The head of the child was laying between the legs of the adult female body with her head pointing west. The adult female's body was also pointing west. So now we got directions on the body. Was in a later stage of decay. She was laying chest down on the floor. The head of the female body could not be seen on the initial view. Also, the female did not have either hand. The male body was laying on his back with his body pointing toward the east and both arms spread outward from the body. He was missing his right hand and had a black semi-auto handgun several inches from his left hand. There was a small portion of his rear skull still attached to the spinal column, but a large portion of the head was missing. His body was also in the later stage of decay. So I'm saying this 4 weeks. And we're going to look at that tomorrow as we get into this as well. We're going to start looking at stages of decay. I'm not going to show images, but I'm going to go and go over descriptions and kind of how long it takes for a body to naturally decay. Not to mention, see, when you have an animal in the house, you're also keep that in mind, with a door open. Okay, you got the airflow coming in. You're also inviting bugs, which that would have happened. You guaranteed you're going to see some bugs going in there. You also got the dog. Plus you get the feces and the urine. All these things right there are going to make the decay that much worse. So there's that. So this is really gruesome. All right. So what else we got here? Let's see. The living room and dining room were in an open area, and there was what appeared to be blood on the floor in between the two areas. We're going to get into that tomorrow because they did have it. It looked like ink, but I see what it is now. It was, they used the solution to basically light it up a little bit, clean it up. The Mac laptop computer in the kitchen counter was open and appeared to have power to it. The thermostat in the hallway was reading 68 degrees. Once again, you got the heat on there as well. So that's basically you got this mixture of air, this hot and cold. You're going to increase the decay. Essentially, you got the cold coming in, kind of cooling things off. You get the bugs coming in. You got the fresh air, the oxygen getting to it. Plus, you get the heat coming on. If you got any heaters nearby, boom, the bodies are going to decay pretty quickly. This is just a recipe for it. They're just trying to go and basically just cover up any evidence that there was. I firmly believe this was somebody. Once again, I'm going to repeat that. I firmly believe this is somebody they knew. And this is somebody that needed to cover up that evidence. They need to make it look like a murder-suicide. They absolutely had to get away with this. Once inside the master bedroom, looking on the north side of the residence, I noticed a small amount of marijuana and drug paraphernalia on the top of the dresser. Small gun safe on the nightstand next to the bed. The safe was open, had a set of keys inside and a semi-auto magazine loaded with what appeared to be a .40 caliber hollow point ammunition. In the closet of the master bedroom was a large green footlocker with a padlock on it. There were no immediate signs of any blood inside the master bedroom area. It's because it was all contained in the living room. But once again, why the gun safe was open and all this was because probably he was trying to defend himself and his family. Bedroom office on the south side of the residence had a small love seat desk with an Apple computer and file cabinet inside. On the computer desk was a pad of paper and pen. The paper had what appeared to be blood on it, and written in pen was "Open the Rise." Once again, the most recent version. And after the initial walkthrough, Detective Bone. The other part, submit to Allah now. I'm not kidding. That was directly on there. This part they left out. I'm very upset that they left it out too. Let's see if I can. Okay. Weird. As it selects all the way over to here. Like this. Anything? Nope. Yeah, we missed part of it. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you can literally see it in the documentary. They've got the photos and everything too. So, let's see, anything else? So the Malays live directly across. So now, basically what we're going to do here, I'm going to write this down so that way I remember to. So, pardon me if you guys hear any writing going on at the same time. It's because there is. We're going to go and make a map of where everybody lives. And we're going to make a map of the home. I'm going to try and put the layout of the home and everything literally. Like basically, you'll see these are the neighbors are basically as kind of like the border. And then we're going to have crime scene and everything, the whole blueprint of the home on the inside. And then we'll have everything else detailed. Okay, that's basically how we're going to go and do this, I think. What else we got? All right, so now we got some other information here. Okay, so now according to Malays, Crowley's moved in December 2013. They were not close with them. Stated that they'd wave at each other in passing. During a heavy snowstorm, they offered their snowblower. Didn't socialize though. Brent stated the last time he saw anybody at the residence was on Christmas Eve. Okay, so we know that there was somebody at the residence on Christmas Eve. He was going to close the blinds in the front of his residence when he looked out the window and saw David staying in the front window of David's residence. He said they looked at each other and then Brent closed his shade. Well, David had turned and walked away. Brent was not sure of the exact time, but knew it was after dark and believed it was between 6 and 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Okay. Also stated that he didn't notice Christmas presents on the front step until the day of when they came by. That's weird as well. There's something off with this guy's story, which means most likely these guys are not paying attention. That's basically what I'm thinking it is. They chose not to really be social with him, and they didn't really pay close attention to him at all. And he happens to remember some weird things, kind of like, him just standing in the front window. Maybe. Witness testimony is always kind of weird. Can't really always just take it. Okay. Medical examiners. Okay, here we go. Greg Spandel, medical examiner Dr. Jessica Lelinski, arrived at the scene and was escorted into the residence. Check out and remove the bodies. Did the initial check on the bodies, assisted, and Spandel in the collection of the bodies and body parts. Okay. Okay. Once they finished processing, detectives and all them basically started collecting evidence. Detective Bone took photos. Detective McKnight logged in evidence in the property log. Detective Teast, Klokanos, Gummer, Olson, and Jacobson collected evidence. Okay, and here we go. So we get to see this. During the search, what was this? Booth assisted with photos collection and supervised the search. Found the following items. Found the Kindle Fire with love written in silver. iPhone with brown plastic case and skull patch. Apple laptop, black in color, with love written on it. This week, newspaper found the kitchen garbage can. Documented the name of Colin Crowley found in the kitchen. Port card. iPhone with black case found in the master bedroom. Small gun safe found in the nightstand in the master bedroom. Handgun magazine with .40 caliber ammunition. Pink tablet with a pink case found in the living room. .40 caliber ammunition found in the trunk of the vehicle located at the garage. Spring-filled armory gun case found with AV-46, which is... Can't be right. Maybe. Potentially a flight tracking? I doubt it. It doesn't seem right. Maybe. Transported to the lab for processing. Electronic evidence was transported to the DCSO processing. Then all the other evidence was transported to AVPD and into the evidence room. And no, AVPD is not Alien versus Predator. Oh, quick joke. That was really bad. Let's see. They attended the autopsy at the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's office. During the autopsy, the medical examiner is located at an entry and exit bullet holes into the skull of the child. They also found 2 entry bullet holes in the skull of the adult female, 1 exit bullet hole in the skull of the male. For further information on the autopsy, for the medical examiner's report. That's probably in here, if I had to guess. All right. So now we have her sister, Kamal's sister. On the 19th, spoke to Sidra Alam, the sister of Kamal Crowley, via phone. Sidra advised me that she was currently residing with her father and mother in blank. Sidra stated her mother is currently in hospice care due to cancer. It was not expected to live much longer. Sidra gave a detailed account of her relationship with her sister and brother-in-law, as well as her family history. Okay. Michelle Wallach, don't know who that is. Ooh, Daniel Mason, we know who that is. Employment information. Express Health. What is Express Health? Okay, it's like in-home care. Interesting. Okay. Mitchell Heil. Yep. Christopher Peck. Okay. So I believe those are his friends. So this narrative was dictated. Okay. All right. So Klakanos had given some information that a text message was sent from Crowley's phone to a phone number of 319-367. Okay, so it belonged to Christopher Peck. Okay. Text message was sent at 7:22 a.m. Text referred to be a possible drug deal. Do you have any, and when and where type information? So basically trying to go pick up some pot. Let's be honest. That's directly what's going on. For the message, he's known David and Kamel for the last several years and last saw them December 19th. Okay, so we see this December 19th. Boom, that lines up with the other lady there, or with the lady or the girl behind the house. Yeah. Describes David and Como coming to his residence at 1 p.m. where they did purchase a small amount of marijuana. He was not just David's marijuana dealer. David was his mentor for filming and producing films. Peck went on to describe that he has known David and Como for several years and had traveled to Oklahoma with David and Daniel Mason and Mitchell Heil to help film scenes for the Gray State concept trailer back in 2013. The group had traveled to Oklahoma where a lot of the filming was done. Peck stated that he has worked on and off with David on the project of Gray State. He stated that David and Como had come over to pick up the marijuana. They came over, they were alone, and their child was not with them. Mr. Peck has hung out with the family to include August 2014 when he attended the Crowley's daughter's 5th birthday party. Mr. Peck knows that the meeting happened on December 19th, 2014 because it was just 2 days prior to him leaving for Iowa for Christmas, and the Crowleys had wished him a Merry Christmas and a safe trip. Peck states that the last time he spoke with the Crowleys was on December 19th and has not spoken with them since that day. He was very cooperative and forthcoming with his information. Told Gevick, apparently, that she needs to speak with Daniel Mason and Mitch Heil, who are also part of the Project with Gray State and friends of David's. Peck said it had been over a year since he has seen Mitch, but had just spoken with Daniel Mason the day before I spoke with him and gave the cell phone number for Daniel Mason. But had just spoken with Daniel Mason the day before I spoke with him and gave me the cell phone. Interesting. Okay, that was kind of worded weirdly. Peck left the door open for further communications by telling me that if I had any further questions, he would be more than happy to answer them. Left his phone number to call back if there's anything further he could think of or remember that would assist in laying out a timeline for the Crowley family. Okay. This is already, it's being labeled as a homicide suicide now. Yep. Why is this is not enough information to be like, oh, this is a homicide suicide. It's not enough, even based on what they show there, that with the skulls and all this. It's not enough. What do you guys think? You guys think there's anything there? You guys think? Yeah, I know we need to go and start jotting down the notes. I know, but let's just keep going. I'll get this. You guys will see it tomorrow for sure. Okay, now we're talking to Mason here. And that was on the 19th of January. Mason's phone number is, Mason advised her that he had known David Crowley for approximately 4 years and was one of the actors in Crowley's concept trailer for Gray State. Mason became involved with Crowley when he met him through his company called Bold Exchange. Bold Exchange was a company run by Crowley and Heil that trained actors to be in military-type movies, along with renting out props related to military and police. Mason had stated that the concept for Gray State was made to help produce with what he called crowdfunding. People would donate. Okay, so blah, 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 this crowdfunding. He thought that approximately $61,000 was raised to help produce Gray State. Once the concept trailer was done, Crowley's intentions, according to Mason, is to try and sell the movie for a full-length movie to movie studios in California. At one point in time, he thought that the movie studios had come back saying it was going to run roughly $30 million to produce a full-length movie of Gray State. Mr. Mason was unsure as to whether or not any actual paperwork or contracts were signed to make a full-length movie. Mason said his involvement with Gray State and Crowley was strictly as an actor and as a friend, but had not been involved in any financing or was actually listed on a paperwork as a partner with Crowley and Heil. Said last time he saw the entire Crowley family was, once again, keep that in mind, saw the entire Crowley family was sometime near the end of August when he was attending Ronnie's birthday party at the Crowley residence. At this birthday party was not only Mason, but a lot of writers, producers, and filmmakers who were all in some way, shape, or form related to the movie and concept trailer of Gray State. The only other people that he can remember that were at the birthday party, other than related to the movie, was Crowley's family, David Crowley's father and brother, and were there along with possibly some other family members, but Mr. Mason was unsure. Saw David in September, so now this is when he states that he saw him by himself. Could not remember the exact date in September. He stated that he had come over to the Crowley's residence to talk to David concerning the movie and where the movie was heading. They talked to David, out in the driveway, residents had stated that David had looked like he had lost a bunch of weight and was fragile. Mason stated that this was not so much uncommon for David when he would get wrapped up in his project and writing scripts for the movie. After September's meeting, Mason states that he received an email on the 1st of October 2014 from Crowley's attorney. The email was asking for Mr. Mason to release any rights he had as an actor in the movie so David could take the script and movie a different route than what was originally planned. Mason stated that he did not reply back to the email that was sent by David and had taken the release form to his attorneys to review before signing anything for David. Mason states that he received an email directly from David on December 7th Email stated in summary that David had decided to take the Gray State into a different path than what they had originally thought. And in order for him to do what they needed to do, Mason needed to sign a release form releasing him of his rights to the movie. This tells you right here, he was definitely more into partnership here. Okay, because he had rights to the movie. And once again, period, saying any rights he had as an actor in the movie. So there's some things going on in here. Attached to the email was the same release form that was sent. October 1st, Mason stated that he replied back to David's email telling him that he needed his attorney to have time to look over it before he signed any release concerning the movie. December 7th is the last contact Mason had with David or anyone in the family. Mason had asked if they had talked to Mitch Heil. So they're trying to push in a specific direction. Advised him that not, and Mason gave Heil's phone number so that they could that Barb could contact them. Mason stated that he believed that David Crowley and Mitch Heil had dissolved their partnership in the business, but believed that they had that had happened on good terms. He thought that that had happened around the September-October time frame, 2014. Crowley was a very loving man towards his family and loved his family more than anything else in the world. He also stated that he was a very artistic individual, did not show any signs of violence, and was not an extremist. Mason stated that David had always been upset about the way he was used in the military during Iraq and Afghanistan, but was not an extremist. So he's double down on that. Trying to show, he's a good guy. Good thing. That's going to kind of help him on his kind of case for his image here. But a lot of his stuff on his image is kind of, you're kind of shifty here a little bit. I'm kind of thinking, because once again, the rights. That's reason enough. Once again, I'm not, you're not going to be a part of this anymore. Sorry, bro. Or we're going to do something a little differently here. Then you're not going to be part of it. So say that he knew that David believed in a higher power when it came to religion, but they never spoke about religion. David never talked about Christianity, Muslims, Islamic beliefs, or any other type of religions out there. Once again, why they're getting on that is kind of curious. If anything, Mr. Mason thought that they may be atheist. Right. I don't buy that for a second. Mason left the door open for further contact, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here we go. Now we get into the conversation with Mitchell, David, John Heil. They've been best friends since high school. They met in approximately 2000. Both joined the Army together in 2004. In 2004, they left for Fort Benning, Georgia, to their basic training for the United States Army. When they enlisted in the United States Army together, they did this. This is backstory on David here. David left for basic training for Germany, while Mitchell had left for another base. According to Mitchell, David served in an army post in Germany and another one in Texas, then was discharged in 2009. So he didn't know he even went overseas. Okay. David talked to him about some of the stuff that had occurred with him while in the military. According to Mitchell, David was first deployed to Iraq. While deployed in Iraq, David had gone through a traumatic incident where an IED had blown up the Humvee that he was in. When the IED had blown up, now this is where we're going. Trying to push into PTSD here. Blown up in the Humvee, David had to save one of his teammates and lost several members of his team while over in Iraq. Mitchell did not go into much more concerning the specific incident, but had stated that once David was done there with Iraq, he was supposed to be shipped back to Texas where he would be getting out of the military. Once back in blank, he had met Comel and got married. After the two had gotten married, the military had done what is called a stop loss on David, meaning David was not allowed to get out of the military on his discharge date. Instead, was deployed to Afghanistan for another combat deployment. According to Mitchell, David did not talk much about what had occurred over in Afghanistan, and whenever they talked about an incident concerning the military, David had always reverted back to the IED attack on the Humvee, really trying to push the PTSD. Okay, all right. While talking about the military issues of David and Mitchell had made it well known that he did not believe that David had PTSD. Okay, did not believe he had PTSD. You got a whole story here showing he probably had PTSD. But no, he didn't have PTSD. Right. and was not suffering from that at any time after being in the military. David felt unhappy, as did Mitchell, about the wars and the drones being used over in the wars and the innocent people that were being killed and considered collateral damage. These beliefs are what ended up becoming a business partnership between Mitchell and David, and them wanting to get out their views concerning the wars, the drones, and the innocent people being killed, and the current state of affairs that were going on around the world, and how unhappy they were about it. Mitchell said that David was not anti-government. As a matter of fact, David had spoken at a Ron Paul support rally and was not happy with the bickering and arguing between Republicans and Democrats, but he was far from being anti-government. Okay. That didn't make much sense there. Once out of the military, David and Mitchell had attended film school together. Okay, boom, got that. Once they graduated from their film school, they had started... Oh, so they did graduate, okay. They had started up 2 different companies. The first was called Hothead Productions, which was responsible for filming commercials, music videos. It was also the production company that was being used to film and produce the movie or trailer for Gray State Project. The second company they started was called Bold Exchange. Bold Exchange is a company they started where they rented props and trained actors to be able to fluently, while acting during military movies, so it looked as if they were truly in the military. According to Mitchell, Bull Exchange was not a successful company, and they did not make much money towards that. They started Gray State LLC, which is connected to the Gray State The Rise. In 2010, the two had helped make the concept trailer together for the Gray State after the concept trailer had been completed, and they started trying to sell the movie to movie producers in late 2012. Mitchell said that they broke off from the project. According to Mitchell, David had started taking the movie in a totally different direction than even the commercial trailer was showing. He started digging more into the conspiracy theories and taking the movie into a totally different direction. Okay, there's a reason for him to be pissed here. There's a few different reasons, actually. According to Mitchell, the concept trailer and the actual movie were going to be completely different. He stated that David started working on a documentary and started talking about a mini-series concerning the project. Mitchell stated that he needed to be able to make some money and thought he wasn't seeing a bigger picture that David was seeing concerning the movie. Gray State was David's project to begin with, so Mitchell separated from Gray State, giving all rights to David concerning the project. Okay. Became completely consumed by Gray State. Eesh. He left quite a bit of details here. Ooh, crazy. Became completely consumed was the only thing they focused on, and that wasn't focused on finances, other things concerning their business. For that reason, that is why Mitchell separated from the Gray State project. At the time of separation, Gray State was not bringing in any money. The concept trailer that was produced raised some funds to create a documentary that David was editing. Mitchell advises that he helped on some of the documentary interviews, but he has never seen a finished product concerning the documentary that David was editing, and that was David's responsibility. David would not let Mitchell see it until it was completely edited. As far as he knew, it had not been completely edited, but knew of a 3-hour-long version, unedited, of the documentary that are out there that existed. David got very involved in it, and this is according to Mitchell, of course, got very involved in the research concerning the Gray State project. The movie went so far away from the concept trailer, it started going heavily into the conspiracy of killing people, and that David was so wrapped up in his research and people that he was speaking to, he became distant from Mitchell and the company. Holy crap, he's got more. September 24th, 2014, Mitchell had signed over all of his rights in reference to Hothead and Bull Exchange LLC to David. He had legally signed over all rights to David and was no longer part of those companies. Mitchell felt that the only way to save the relationship with friends was to separate business and friendship. David was getting so involved in the Gray State project that his health was deteriorating. Mitchell stated that in September, when he signed over all the rights, at the time he physically saw David, he had gone over to David's residence to meet with him, and David came out and wouldn't let him inside the residence, and they only spoke in the driveway. At that time, while speaking in the driveway, now this is very, very reminiscent of Mason here. While speaking in the driveway, David had physically and mentally changed according to Mitchell. His physical appearance looked frail, and he wasn't talking like the David that Mitchell knew. According to Mitchell, David was not an alcoholic or a huge drinker. He would drink periodically, but when he would drink to get drunk. Interesting. Mitchell said that David and Camille had met while in Texas, and when they met, Camille was Muslim and converted to Christianity so that she and David could get married. Mitchell said that he knew that when David was growing up, his family was religious and had gone to church, and it was Christianity, but was unsure whether or not it was Catholic or some other religion. He stated that Camille had given up her Muslim status for David and knew that her family was not happy about that. David did not speak about religion in conversations, nor did he have any kind of arguments or debate concerning religion. It was just not a subject that came up often between Mitchell and David. Mitchell also described David as a great family man, awesome around his family, and loved them very much. Once again, this is the same thing they're showing. He loved his family to a great degree. So, these guys are involved. They're doing themselves a disservice here. Okay? Because murder-suicide, not in the question here. They all keep a very similar story. Well, two of them kept a very similar story so far. Mitchell's concerned that David became wrapped up in his research, but could not give any further insight concerning the situation and death of the Crowley family. Same thing, gave up his information and said we can speak at a later time. Ugh. So now we get Michelle Wallach, the blank with Wallach advised the little girl. Oh, must be the teacher that they knew as actual first name is spelled, and had attending their had been attending their school since 2014. Was dropped off every single day by both of her parents, her mother and her father, and picked up at the end of the school day around 3 p.m. Also by both of her parents on a daily basis. Never missed school, was always attentive, and was described as an extremely bright and smart young lady. Blank was in what would be considered kindergarten at the time, and her normal school day was 8:15 to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. The last day of school that Ronnie attended was December 19th, 2014. Now, what's that? Just go double check. Never know. Boom, it's a Friday. All right. Last day of school prior to the Christmas break, and then school resumed back on January 5th. Holy crap. It's like what? Oh, it's 2 full weeks, yeah. A couple extra days. Okay. So then there was apparently several voicemails left for both parents asking if she was coming back to school. Described the parents as somewhat of loners. They would always stand off together, off to the side every day when they would pick up Ronnie from school, and never socialized or spoke to any of the parents or staff members when they were picking up Ronnie from school. Wallach described Ronnie as a very sociable person who came to one-on-one with Ronnie's teacher. Any communication with the family always went through Ronnie, and not any communication. Oh, I don't know who this is then. And not any communication with. Oh, email, probably, and not any communication with blank. Probably with his wife, so Como. When it would come to conference time, blank would be the only one who would show up for conferences, and blank never did. Interesting. The only issues that Miss Wallach could remember during the time was their school was a time back in October 2014 when blank came to school sometime during the school day, became very upset, and tried to hide in the classroom. What? When the teacher found her, she was cowering in a corner and crying and saying that she was afraid. So much so that she could not calm down enough, and she had been sent to the office to calm down. Other than this one incident, there were no... Okay. There were never any other incidents of the school concerning Ronnie or her parents that stood out to the school staff. Wallach said that Blank did have a very strict diet and did not know exactly what the medical term was, but was advised by her mother that she had a leaky gut and had to have a strict diet for her food and water intake. Other than one medical condition, the school did not know of any medical conditions that Ronnie had, and that her doctor was a doctor out of... Okay. When Miss Wallach About emergency contacts on Ronnie's school form, she stated that the blank had not advised any emergency contacts, and as a matter of fact, when they were asked about adding an emergency contact or a list of people that would be authorized to pick Ronnie up from school, they were told that there was no family in the area, and that would be added as an emergency contact, and that the family was alone. Once again, extremely bright and gifted child, the great vocabulary and a fast learner when it came to reading. She loved her dog and would constantly bring photographs into the school, show the teachers and staff her dog. Okay, same thing. Feel free to contact. Casey Morrow. Okay, I don't know who this is. She had information regarding the case. Oh, okay. She used to work with Como. Never met Miss Comel's husband or child. Never been to the Crowley residence. Started a group of like-minded dietitians. The group would get together to talk about nutrition and diet topics. Used to communicate with Crowley Como by phone and email approximately once a week. Hadn't communicated with Como since the last week of September or the 1st of October 2014. Email about the group and didn't receive a response. Follow-up email and again heard no response. Sent the email to Como, her Gmail. Changed her cell phone number sometime around late September. She never received Miss Crowley's new phone number. Okay. What else? Her husband got a multi-million-dollar movie deal to make the next Spider-Man movie. Ooh, what the hell? Told her they would be moving to California. She moved to Apple Valley. When commented Miss Crowley about moving to Apple Valley, said they wanted to stay closer to Renia's school, but it's Renia's. And then there's one that's blank about quitting work as a dietitian. Interesting. Oh, here's Malay again. All the windows in the house were locked and closed. Nothing was found during the investigation that leads us to believe that in the 4th century. Okay. I mean, shit. Pardon my language there. There was no forced entry, but the back door was open. 1/4 of an inch. Interesting. Okay. They were born in Saudi Arabia at a military base while her father worked for the U.S. military. Okay. She stated once her father left his position with the U.S. military, they returned to live in Pakistan, where her mother and father were originally born. Stated they lived in Pakistan until her sister turned 17. She turned 17. The entire family moved to blank. While in blank, Texas, Como got accepted to blank, and the family then moved to blank to be closer to Como while she attended blank. Interesting. Yeah, and so basically she felt like there was distance between her and David. Discuss her relationship with David, say that her sister was under a large amount of stress because she was the sole breadwinner for the family. Told her father that she wasn't sure she could stay married to David anymore because he did not do anything to help financially with the bills. Como did advise her father that she was not being physically or emotionally abused. It was just the financial struggles that made her question the marriage. After talking with her father, Como agreed to continue working on the issues with David. Okay. Didn't really seem like their family hated him. In May of 2014, Sidra stated David and Como came to their home in blank for a visit. Say that while in blank, David and Como flew to California to sign a contract with the movie production company for David's film. So basically, they were using them as babysitters. That's jacked up. Stated that they watched their sister's child while they were in California. She stated that they both came back from Cali and then proceeded back to Minnesota with Renia. That their mother had been diagnosed with cancer in July, and that her and her father had decided that she would start chemotherapy to treat cancer. Advised Como wasn't happy with the fact that her mother was going through chemo and did not believe that they should undertake chemotherapy. Sidra advised her that for the course of the summer, she learned that David did not get a contract. The contract was canceled. She was uncertain of those details, but advised me that whatever occurred in Cali had fallen through, and that David no longer had any agreement with any production company. Said that it was a big hit to David. His production of the movie was his whole life. She stated during the course of that time frame, she also noticed a change in Como. She said that David had always professed an anti-government type point of view, and that her sister started to come with the same type of viewpoint, and that she advised her that she had joked David at one point during the summer. What have you done with my sister? She has changed. According to Sidra, she felt that David had all the power and control of her sister. David called her father in October. The conversation was swearing him and advised him that they were no longer allowed to contact the family and that they were to leave the family alone. Sidra stated that she called David and attempted to discuss what was going on up in Minnesota, and he advised her also not to contact the family moving forward. Sidra stated she attempted to contact Como several times after her conversation with David, but Como would not return her texts or calls. Sidra stated that it was okay. She would drive to Minnesota to find out what's going on. She later stated, according to her record, she arrived in Minnesota in October 19th. Says she had stopped by the Apple Valley Police Department to discuss a possible escort to the residence. However, she was advised that based on her information that she provided to the officer, it was felt that the matter was civil and that we could not offer assistance at that time. So that she was advised by the officer that when she arrived at the residence, if issues did arise, she could certainly call 911 and they would offer assistance at that point. Allowed David and Como to bring up his Acura passenger car so they could use that to get around since they needed a vehicle. Sidra stated that her father helped them financially with the vehicle and that he simply had asked them to handle insurance matters with the vehicle. Stated it was her knowledge that David and Como did not follow through on their end of the deal regarding the Acura, and that part of their plan was to go up to Minnesota and take the Acura back. She'd driven a Toyota passenger car that she had borrowed to her sister. Okay. David came to the door to speak with her. She stated that he appeared very skinny, his hair was disheveled, and she stated, in her words, looked crazy. Sidra stated David would not let her in to see her sister. He told her to go to her car and he would come out to speak with her in the driveway. Stated David went out to the vehicle and advised her again that they did not want contact with her or her family. He stated that he, along with Como, felt that they were treating Como's mother inappropriately, and there was some type of shady dealings going on with the situation down in blank. Welcome to call the hospital and speak with her mother and hospital staff to find out they were not doing anything appropriate. She could have the Acura, however, she had to leave the residence and come back in approximately an hour. The vehicle will be made available to her. David said, however, that he had to take both Acura and Toyota back with. She had to take both Acura and Toyota back with her. Interesting. So this is getting to be a very interesting case, just based on, just strictly based on this police report alone. We're getting some really, really strange information here. Really, really strange evolution, even de-evolutions, if you will, in these relationships with David and Como. We're hearing here. Now, the thing is this some giant conspiracy where it's both families like conspiring against them? No. You can definitely see that's not the case. You have the Como side, who's got really recent contacts. You got the family, or the friends that, supposed friends rather, that who really knows what they really were. They've got some contact with them. Once again, seeing the same thing here. We're seeing the skinny David here, really, really thin, kind of falling apart, looking kind of crazy. Once again, looking into this type of stuff and just kind of just indulging yourself, just boom, 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 just you're basically you're living it, you're breathing it, this is something you're just basically just taking in constantly. Yes, this stuff is it's gonna damage. It definitely will. But once again, when you obsess like he was, this is gonna do damage. They didn't have any form of contact. They cut off David's phone completely. Wow. And then limited comas. It makes sense. I mean, they were treating him like crap. So. Okay, so then, of course, this is where people are getting that whole. This is where you can see this. This is where the people are getting the conspiracy that David did do this. He's the one who committed this. Now, it's a possibility. I'm not denying that. It is a possibility. I just think it's like next to no chance it's happened. 2 missed calls on the 23rd of December from an unknown number. First call was at her work on the morning of 2:23, 9:36 a.m. Second call was at 11:40 a.m. So no viable proof that the calls were from her sister, but she believes that they were. Sidra asked that contact her directly regarding the incident. She said that her father is under a lot of stress due to what is going on with her mother, and she felt that it best that she be the go-between her and the father. Interesting. Not seeing a whole lot here. What is this labeled as? Yeah, it's not even labeled as anything on this one. They're saying basically it just looked like the 2 adult bodies didn't have any heads. Skulls attached to them. Ooh, and then I also noticed the male body did not have a left hand. The female body appeared to be missing one hand also. Interesting. But yeah, as you guys can see, there's a lot. And like I said, I'm going to have to go and cover this as much as I can. After this stream, I'm planning on getting everything fixed up so that way I can go and get it in the perfect order. And then I'm going to go and start the uploads for the False Crown of Pestilence. So once again, that is the COVID-19 video. Once again, come back tomorrow night. We're going to have more information on this. We're going to have things in a lot more of a kind of a specific order. I'm going to finish going over this document tonight and tomorrow, start getting information down and organized, and then kind of putting it all together. So, and then throughout the week, that way, by next Saturday, we'll have the whole layout. We'll have it all put together, and then we'll, as you can see, this is getting quite juicy. So, but thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back, like I said, tomorrow night. We'll be back around 10 p.m. And once again, the notes, I do apologize. I got really, really indulged into the police report here. We're going to have a lot of notes to kind of cover as well. So, but we'll be back tomorrow at 10 p.m. Thank you guys once again for tuning in.